heard a couple of his lectures. People still have lots of questions. We are all laymen. He's into the IT industry and AI also, but he also learned shastras. So it's very comfortable for us to listen to his words on shastras. And people have lots of doubts. So who is God? What is the nature of God? For example, the terrorist attack took place in Moscow a couple of days ago. So did God do that? Or why do children get killed in an accident or in any tragedy? So is that right on the part of God to do all this? These are all the questions which we have. So a person like Mr. Krishna is capable of giving relevant answers to such questions in English. It's a language you understand very well. So on behalf of all the listeners, I once again welcome Mr. Krishna to this program, and I request him to start the lecture. I think you can go for 1 hour, and then you can have a specific half an hour for question and answers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can I start now?
Yes.
Okay. I will share my screen first, and then I will see if it is visible. Is it visible, now?
Yes, visible, sir.
Screen visible?
Yes, visible.
Okay. All right. 1 minute. Let me put this thing in. 1 minute. Yeah. I hope it is visible now.
Yes.
Clearly, right? Okay. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harih Om Narasimha Akhilagnana Matadhvanta Divakaraha Jayatyamita Sajnana Sukha Shakti Payonidhi Abhramam Bhangarahitam Majadam Vimalam Sada Ananda Tirthamatulam Bhaje Tapatrayapaham Apadam Audiparyantam Gurunam Akritim Smaret Tena Vignaha Pranashyanti Siddhyanti Manorathaha Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harih Om Harih Om. Namaskara to all of you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about God. What I will do is this is the typical to my corporate culture, right? We start everything has an agenda. So first I will maybe even collect some opinions from people here. What do you think God is? And, especially people who are not yet exposed to Shastra or, or just, culture kind of thing. What do you think about God? What do you think other people think about God? And then we will, see how to go about, I will address some of the questions that Sri Venkatesh ji mentioned in the beginning of this call. Then, we will get answers to some of those problems. And then most importantly, we will see what is the relation to, what is our relation to God in terms of sadhana, and what is the kind of fruit that we will get from, or benefit that we will get from worshipping God. Okay. So what is your idea of God? Would anybody want to go on telling that thing? We'll just take 1 minute for this kind of questions, and then I will quickly go to the this one. So does anybody want to take a stance on, what is your idea of God? At least when you see others talk about God, what is their idea of God?
The most popular is God is always kindness personified. So why a cruel acts taking place?
Okay, right. That is one. One is God is kindness personified. Then
a supreme power which controls everything in the universe.
Supreme power that controls everything in the universe. Very good. Then, I mean, I can list your questions also. See, I have had this question before I came to Shastra. How do I know if God has one nose or two noses? I mean, if you say that he can have multiple heads, why not two noses on the same face? I had these kind of weird questions at one point of time. So feel free to ask your questions also. And we'll see how, our Acharyas, especially Madhvacharya, has answered these questions. It's going to be amazing the more we dwell on his works. I will come to that later. But anyway, what else is, so one is supreme power.
One question, popular question: is Allah, Jesus, and Krishna the same?
Allah, Jesus, and Krishna the same. Very good. Okay, that is a question. Very good. Then, so anyway, I will go to the questions that we have seen. Okay, one is what is called as the Lokayata Mata, right? Which is the atheism, right? God cannot be seen, heard, or even experienced. So God does not exist. Simple. There is no evidence for God's existence. So all these religions, they basically are, projecting something that does not exist and making life hell for all its followers. So that is a very common opinion, and this opinion is growing in today's world. That is one. The second thing, right? Mercy and, this is called the problem of suffering. There is mercy and suffering, right? If God is merciful and omnipotent, there cannot be suffering. Basically, they are all mutually incompatible. Omnipotence and mercifulness and suffering are mutually incompatible. If there is suffering, it means that God is either not merciful or he is merciful but not omnipotent. Omnipotent means Sarva Shakta. He has the capability to change things, but he is not changing, which means that he is not merciful. So kindness personified, Karuna Samudra, all those things do not go gel well with suffering. So that is one problem. And we see this thing also, right? We see that some of his devotees suffer. There are tsunamis, earthquakes, not even man-made things. These are, whatever bomb blasting that has happened is all man-made. You can still blame it on the person who did it. Okay, God could have controlled it. That is a minor one. But these are natural events wherein innocent people are dying. So if God existed, why would such events happen? Right? And that is the second thing. The other part is that, people who deny God's existence or who do not care about God's existence, who are not just atheists, even agnostics, right? People who do not worry whether God exists or not exists, they seem to be more successful about in their life. They have more wealth, they go on nice vacations, they seem to be making have big houses, all sorts of things are there, right? So they seem to be more successful than people who are spending a lot of time on God in their either rituals or even in just as a belief system. So that doesn't, so reality is there in front of us, and it doesn't seem to support the notion that there is a God, a benevolent and all-powerful God who exists. And even if, or let's say, for argument's sake, that such a God existed, but it doesn't matter because, people who do not believe in him are also being successful. So what is the big deal there? And the other extension to this question is basically, if you say that all this suffering, right, all whatever I wrote here, which is that, his devotees suffer, innocent people have died. If all of that is because of karma, that is a very poor escape route. After all, if God is merciful, he could have just overwritten that karma. He could have just said that, this karma I am nullifying. Governments and banks, they themselves, when they are in a very, when they want to be nice to people, right? They basically write off bad loans, farmer loans and so on and so forth. When they are capable of doing that, why can't God overwrite or ignore bad karma from these people? Right? So that is one thing. I'm just trying to list down the questions before we go to the answer. So you please give me another 5 minutes before we go there. Right? This is the other problem, which is the problem of evil. Right? We see that there are evil events that are happening around us, like, the bomb blast that you just mentioned, Venkateshji. So there is even not at that scale, maybe as a bomb blast, we see that there are people who are indeed evil-minded. They may have everything, but they will still go and snatch things from people. They will disturb people. They will cause them pain, other people. Why can't God change them? Or why can't God just, remove them? Right? So there are only two options. Either he is not capable or he is not willing. Right? If God is really capable, which is he's omnipotent, but he's not, there's still evil is there, which means that he's not merciful. He is not kind enough for whatever we are thinking. Or if he's kind, then he is not Sarva Shakta. He does not have the capability to remove them. So these are the, this is a very pertinent problem for all theistic religions in the world, right? I mean, problem of evil, problem of suffering. There are, you can go and read them up. Okay, there are different types of solutions that are given. But I will come to, the way Madhvacharya's system answers this question a little later, right? And why that I think is the only logical one that is possible out there. Then there are other logical questions. If can God create a stone that he cannot lift? If yes, he is not all powerful. Again, same thing, right? Or if no, again, for the same reason that he cannot create such a stone, he is not all capable. So whichever way you look at it, right? God is, you'll have to basically compromise on one or the other thing and then say such a God does not exist. Okay. Then again, there is the question on the purpose of creation. Why did God create this world? Right? Let's say we accept that there is one such God. Why did he create this world? Okay. So the basic problem there is that, if he created this world because to fulfill something in himself, he felt like having a sport. That is what the Visishtadvaitins say. He created this world to get fun from it as sport. In a sport, just like a king goes to the garden and then plays with his family or people out there. The same thing God is doing here. It is this whole world is been created just because God wanted to have some fun, which means that he did not have that element before in him or her, right? Which means there was some lacuna, there was something, there was some imperfection, there was some some gap over there. Then if you say no, there is no such gap, it was all he does not have a purpose, he's all complete, there is no incompleteness in him, then it means that he doesn't need the world was created as a from a whimsical being. I will do some, there are some people who they have some idiosyncrasies, right? They will do things on their whim. I'll just feel like throwing this stone, I will throw that stone. There is no purpose behind that. So God is also like, but that does not, that is not something that suits an intelligent person. An intelligent person will, even a dullard, right, will try to do something only if there is some purpose behind that. Prayojanam vinana mandopi pravartate. That is the line that is used regularly. Without a prayojana, without a purpose, right, even a dimwit will not do anything. So why will an intelligent person take so much enormous effort and create this big complex world, right? And moreover, if you say that, he has created this thing for the sake of, people like us, he is merciful, he wants us to provide a platform so that we can do our sadhana and then we can evolve and then go towards moksha, right? He has created this world, right, to enable us to get liberation. Why can't he just liberate us right away, directly? If he is that merciful, instead of creating a world, let him take each of these individual souls, jivas, right, and put them placed directly in moksha, right? Why should he put them to this rigmarole of this entire life and death and circle of life and death, and then say that I should come there? There are more such questions. Okay, is God an egoistic person? He wants everybody to keep doing stuti. He wants everybody to do stotra of him. If you do his stotra, then it means that you are a devotee of God. Why should he want that kind of stuff? Isn't that also there is some lacuna in him, bro, right? So these are some logical questions that come if you accept an God who is all powerful and also merciful at the same time and also intelligent at the same time. So unless you give up on one of these things, right, you cannot fit through the logic. Okay, they don't fit logically. That is the problem that you run into. And this is across the take any theology, any religion which believes in God, they will need to answer these questions. And without answering these questions, you cannot posit a God to whom who has all those qualities that I just mentioned: Sarva Shakta, Sarvajna, and Karuna Samudra. All those things we keep saying them in our daily stotras, but well, they don't fit in logically. Okay. Then coming to, this is more to our Indian thing, right? All gods are same. This is another opinion that you find there. Okay. Now let's assume that we have crossed the border of Nastika and Astika. We have come to admit that there is God. But then again, there is not one single opinion there. Okay. Within the Astika systems itself, there are many other opinions, right? You have Allah, Jesus. I mean, Jesus is not God. He's supposed to be son of God, right? Allah is there. They're all supposed to be this, right? Now, and then within the Indian Bharatiya darshanas, then you again have people who say that no, all these gods are there. Shiva is the real God, okay? Or then there is the system which says that no, all these gods are actually different forms or different aspects of one single God. That, okay, this is a very common thing. I don't know whether you're able to see my screen or not. This Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti, you will find it quoted in every other Hindu article about God, right? Then there is one system which says that actually there is no one real God. Each God just plays his role. Okay. So Brahma will do creation, Vishnu will do preservation, and Shiva will do the destruction. That's it. There is no one real God. Okay. And then there are other people who said that you have been talking about God as a male. That itself is wrong. It is a she. Okay. It is Adi Parashakti is the mother of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. She created them. She is the real goddess. Then people who get bored of all these things, they say that all these things are petty struggles. You are like very sectarian in nature. Let's admit that God does not have any form. Okay, he or she or whatever you call that, it is all nirakara. Only when you have a form, and that too which resembles a human form, you will get into the question of whether it is a male or female. Let's get over that problem by just saying that God is nirakara. Okay, there are again some systems which says this. And then this is mostly, the next one is mostly with all the younger generations, right? They want to admit that there is some cosmic energy, and they use these words, right? All powerful, and which controls everything, right? But it does not have any quality. Okay, it is all nirguna. It is pure energy that is out there, right? For example, whatever forces of nature that we learn in school, they are all manifestations of that one pure energy which is binding this entire universe. So all these things, if you say it, basically you will appear like an intelligent person in today's generation. You are not sectarian. You want to avoid calling sectarian, and you want to be called secular. Who has a much larger heart and mind, open mind, who is able to understand different, the equalities of different religion, and so on and so forth. There are also these people who say that God may be all powerful, but when he manifests as a human, right, they are not all powerful. They do actually get into flaws. Okay, I have mentioned some examples there, right? But there are many more examples. I am sure you all know of them. Now, these are some other common opinions that we encounter when we talk about God. There are also these, not about God per se, but mostly about our relation with respect to God. Why should God likes goodness and devotion? If you are good to God, you don't need to do anything else. Okay, all this Ekadashi you are doing, Deva Puja that you are doing, all of that is unnecessary, right? I mean, see, what God is not going to really get something from your puja or your this thing, right? You are admitting that he's God. So if he is not going to get anything from your puja or whatever it is, why are you doing this? It is just a ritual. He doesn't care about those things. You can do a full ritual, but if you are not devoted to him, it is pointless. Therefore, the main thing or the only thing is devotion and goodness. Be nice to others. Be a good human. You don't need to do any ritual. Okay. This is another opinion that is commonly found. Have you heard about Pascal's wager? Any of you here? Okay, let me tell that thing. Basically, he says that, let's say we do not know whether God exists or not exists, but belief in God's existence is safer. Okay, is safer than belief in God's non-existence. He says like this: if God were to exist, okay, and because of my belief in God's existence, he will pass me through, right? He will take me to heaven or whatever it is. But if God did not exist, but I still believed in one such God, nothing will happen. Right? Nothing wrong will happen. On the other hand, if God does exist, God does not exist, if God exists, but I keep saying that he does not exist, and then he is going to put me through hell. So when we do not know whether God exists for sure or not, it is safer to assume that he exists and continue our activities based on that. This is Pascal's wager in very brief. There are, of course, variations of this. There are many retorts to this thing. There are many refutations of this. For us, the main thing is that it is not logically correct, right? So there was one, I think Bertrand Russell or somebody like that. He says this thing when, if somebody asked him this question, right? If you go to the gateway of, heaven or hell, and then, you are asked this question, right? Now that you are here, why did you say that, should you be given heaven or hell? He will say, I will still ask for heaven. He was a total atheist, by the way, okay? He says, I will still ask for heaven because God has not given enough evidence and for his existence. Therefore, I am not morally wrong in believing in his non-existence. Okay? So this is Pascal's wager's refutation by Bertrand Russell. I think it is Bertrand Russell. I may be slightly wrong there. But anyway, the point is that, all these things, there are multitude of opinions. There are many, many opinions about God, and especially God's relation with us. What should we do to him or about him? There are again different opinions. So it is also likely that, somebody will say, okay, it is perhaps not necessary to even go and find an answer to this thing. Okay. I'm happy doing my work. Let God be happy with himself. Okay. Why should we even worry about these answers? Okay. I will take a position of, I will suspend my judgment on whether we should find out about God or not. It is not necessary. First, you show me a purpose. Is there a purpose? Then I will go about finding out whether there is God or not God. Otherwise, it is pointless. So this is the opinion that can also be prevalent. Now we will go to the answers. Are there any questions that you would like to that you would like to add to this particular mix? Anybody? I cannot see the screen. If at all you're raising your hand or saying something, so you'll have to speak out. Okay. So I think there are enough questions here itself, right? The problem of evil is there, suffering is there. Then, the logical problems about creating a stone that he cannot lift, and all those things are there. I think let's continue to figure out, right, if there are answers that are possible or not possible.
Krishna,
So
sir,
yeah.
Krishna sir, one thing, the Vajrajar also told the same thing, nothing wrong in believing the God. If he doesn't exist also, you will not lose anything. But if he exists, then you will be losing a lot of things.
No, he mentioned that thing for Dvaita versus Advaita. Okay, but I will come to that also. Okay, we'll talk about that after we go through the main this one. If please remind me if I skip that particular answering this particular point.
Oh, sure, sir. Okay,
I also initially felt that Vajrajar is also saying the same thing, but he is not actually. We'll come to that thing a little later. Okay. Yeah. So true. I mean, if somebody says, why should we even take the trouble knowing about God or not, right? What is the point in doing that? So what would, if any of your children or people who are dear and dear to you, if they ask this question, what will you answer them? Okay, you will try to say, no, look, it has been our ancestors have told, our purvajas have told, and so many people have been happy, talking to God. Their lives have become cooler. They have become, peaceful. All those things you will say. But then remember, there is counter evidence for that also, right? There are these kind of events also happening. There, it is well known that, for example, Pandavas were there. They suffered for quite some time. That's what people will tell you, right? So if there is evidence of God's devotees leading a peaceful life, there is also evidence of they having trouble in their lives, right? So you cannot ignore one and then take only the other and then say that, that is the reason why you should try to know about God. So this is where the Shastra help us in arguing about on these questions. So how do we find out if there is a purpose or not? That is more important thing here. Now it is more an epistemological question. Which source of knowledge will tell me whether there is purpose or not purpose, right? See, so there are three sources of knowledge, three pramanas for us. One is perception, another one is inference, another one is agama. Perception is only about things that you can sense, okay? Sensory, whichever our sensory objects can grasp, can comprehend, only those are revealed to us through perception. So let's question if perception can help us understand this purpose. So purpose of finding out about God. Is there if that purpose or is there a benefit of finding about God? It is not available to any of the sensory organs. Okay. So it is not necessary, then I cannot still say that the purpose does not exist at all. Okay. Because that purpose itself is something which is atindriya, which is beyond the senses. The purpose of finding about God, the benefit about knowing God, is something which is not available to your sensory perception. Okay, so perception is not the source by which you can say that there is no purpose. Next is inference. Inference is a case where it is called anumana in this thing. It is not same as doubt. Inference is basically, X implies Y. Wherever X is there, Y is also there. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. That kind of thing is inference. Now, does inference help in telling there is purpose? Okay. That, why should I try to know about God? Can inference help in answering that? Inference needs multiple things there. Okay. There should be multiple instances of X and Y being synced together. So if X is there, then it means there is purpose in knowing God. There exists benefit from knowing God. Okay. But there is no such thing at all. That X and Y are not there at all. And you never know what is God's preference after all this also, by the way. Okay. Does God want you to be known? Does God want you to know Him or even attempt to know Him? You do not know that. Okay. So we do not know if there is a purpose in knowing God or not just through anumana. So only thing that can come to us is the third pramana, which is scripture, agama. Okay. Now I'm just jumping the gun here. I will come to in the next slide. Will tell you why we should believe in this agama. Okay. So what we are saying is the scripture is the only way by which we can know about God, what He wants, what He doesn't want. Where they say, right, God wants only goodness and devotion, right? He doesn't care about ritual. That they are basically, people are stating a preference, God's preference. They are claiming to know God's opinion without knowing the source, without having the source of knowledge about God's preferences. They are making an opinion. So it is an opinion. It's not a fact, right? So only agama can help us know about God. But then the next immediate question is, which agama then, right? I mean, the scripture also. Why should I believe the scripture? After all, it is written by some or the other person. And they are all going to be, limited by whatever that person knows, right? Or so there is no guarantee that, and I mean, I think somebody mentioned there are some 4,000 odd religions or whatever it is, right? At least I know that there are many, many religious texts. It's not just Veda or, Bible, Quran kind of thing. There are multiple texts over there, right? Which one will you believe? And on what basis will we believe that this is valid? You cannot obviously take all of them to be valid, because they are all giving conflicting opinions also. If you people have read Richard Dawkins, he mentions this thing, right? You cannot believe in this revealed text because each revealed text is telling something different. In Quran, for example, they say that, whatever revelations were done till then are all wrongly interpreted, or, they are not right. This is the final truth. Okay, so they basically are using God's, they are claiming that to have God's words, which invalidate the previous words. Okay, so there are multiple such religious texts. Which one will I go with, right? And it is basically, I mean, look at it, right? It is a little immature to say that only my text is pramana, only my text is valid, right? Now, how do we go about this? So, answer that is given by Acharya is, look, there are two types of texts. Okay, scripture texts are two of them. Are you able to see my screen? Read my screen?
No, sir, it is it's not in the proper position. Yeah, thank you.
Is it better now?
Yeah, now we can see it. We can
Yeah, now we can see.
very clear.
Okay. So now, basically, we are saying that there are two types of texts. Okay, the world knows two types of texts. Rather, we know two types of texts. One is all the texts that like Ramayana, Mahabharata, autobiography of a yogi. My experiments with truth. That is written by Gandhi. And so on and so forth. And even the email that I write is an author text. Then there is an unauthored text. Okay. See, I'm going to quickly get over this portion. Okay, but this is I will put one word of caution here. I have to go through this quickly so that we go to the next portion, which is on why should what is this Agama teaching that? Okay. So please bear with me when I go through this thing little fast. Okay, but this is the crux of the point here as to why should I believe in the Veda. Okay, this is the main portion that deals with that question, right? Now we are saying Veda is the only unauthored text. When I say unauthored text, I am not claiming that it is authored by God. So when Quran was given to Prophet Muhammad, they say that it is Allah's word. God wrote that. Okay. When same thing whether it is about Old Testament or about New Testament or Tanakh or any of these other this thing or Baha'i faith, whichever you take, right? All of them think that God exists and that God gave his word to their main guru. Okay? All the religions think like that. We are saying differently. We are saying Veda is not authored even by God. It is not authored by humans. It is not authored by anything else. It is not authored even by God. Okay? Chat GPT and all those things are also authored in a different way. Okay, they may not be a human author, but there is the next word prediction that is happening. It is the it is the result of an algorithm that is man-made, right? So and that also the training data set is also again huge manual author text only. So in that way, even the robotic text generation programs are also producing author text only. Okay, there may not be an intent or intelligence behind that, the way we are assuming it, but even then it is author text. Okay, the only unauthored text in this entire world is the Veda. Okay, you can go search on this and you will find that only Veda is unauthored. What is the advantage of this unauthored text, right? The simplest logic is that if there is a mistake in a text, it is all traceable to the author. Okay, if I write a text in which there is a mistake, that mistake, what are the textual mistakes? Writing wrong things, erroneous things, saying that 2 + 2 = 5, or not writing it properly in the sense that I just use some random words in the middle. All these things are textual mistakes. All textual mistakes or defects are traceable to the author. If there is no author, there is no flaw. Okay, this is the basic logic here as to why we believe that Veda, which is the unauthored text, is flawless. If the author is ignorant, it will lead to mistakes in the text. If the author is not ignorant, but he does not want to give the information, he may want to mislead you, right? Then also it leads to errors in the text, textual errors. If the author is both not ignorant, if the author is knowledgeable and also wants to communicate rightly, but is incapable because of his other limitations, then also it leads to textual mistakes, right? So now you reverse the, take a reverse of this thing. If there is no author, none of the mistakes, textual mistakes happen. I know there it will appear to the first time here audience that there is a little leap of logic over here, but we will talk about that in some other time. But there is more involved here. Let's, for the sake of simplicity, continue for now and say that, if authored, there is a possibility of a flaw. If unauthored, because there is no author, it is flawless. So Veda is the only text in the world. All these religious texts are there, right? They are all subject to the human flaws that we just saw here. We never know, right? Human limitations. We never know if the author is ignorant or, not capable of seeing the full thing. How can anybody say that, I can see the infinitude of time and then say that whatever you are doing now is going to lead to good results? Recently, I don't know whether you are aware of this or not. There was one meeting that, conference that this Lingayats had. I think Lingayats or Veerashaiva, one of them. So one lady was basically taking a blast against the Vedic, system, Vaidikas. Okay, they have a lot of trust and faith in the the Basava and the Anubhava Mantapa and all these things. But they are all limited by what these humans can experience. The Vaidika system is basically saying that, look, since I am not authored, the Veda is not authored, right? There are no flaws in me. So that is the first fundamental premise on which our entire doctrine is built. That, the Veda is unauthored. Is it a belief? Okay, that is the first question that can come. You are saying Veda is unauthored, that itself is a belief. How can there be any unauthored text, right? So, because all texts that we know, right, starting from the email to that I write, to the granthas or the texts that are written today, the history textbooks, everything is authored. So how can you say there is an unauthored text? The answer to that is, look, basically what we are claiming is that all you are saying, all text is authored. Let's dig deeper into that. Okay, when you dig deeper, how do you know a particular text is authored? I mean, ignore the mail that I myself write. If you bring to me, right, one text which says, Janagana Mana Adhinayaka Jaya, and you claim to be its author, will I accept that? I will not accept that. Why? Because I know that it is already composed by another gentleman long time back, right? Now, so other than the text that I write, how do I know that all texts around me are authored? You take a basic thing there. Here, this is a very important question to figure out, right? So it is called what we call as inductive reasoning, Vyapti. I see text 1, it is authored. I see text 2, it is authored. I see text 3, it is authored. Then I generalize this and then say all texts are authored. But then people who do this also need to be careful about identifying exceptions. Okay. For example, right, I have given one example over there, right, which is, you can read that thing. How do I catch exceptions in this? Okay. That is one thing to think about. Okay. And whatever you come up with, there are multiple, potential ways in which you say, if at all exception is there, I will catch this exception like this. But there is only one way, which is that there should be prasiddhi about that exception for this rule. If a text, then it is authored. More importantly, right, how do see, what we are talking about is Veda and, the fact that it has existed with us forever kind of thing. This is an historical artifact. How do I ascertain whether this historical artifact is a made-up thing or it is a fact? Okay. So basically, what I'm saying is that, how do I know? You are saying that Veda is unauthored. Why do I believe Veda is unauthored? Because my teacher told me so. My teacher taught me this Veda, and also told me that, so and so is the Rishi, so and so is the Devata, and so and so is this is the Chandas. For example, a father teaches Gayatri to his son and says that, Vishwamitra is the Rishi, Paramatma is the Devata, and Gayatri is the Chandas also. Right? Now, on what basis should I trust my father on this one? Because his father told so. On what basis should I trust his father or his guru, whoever has taught him that? Not just Gayatri Mantra, right? We'll actually extend to all the other Vedas. Because the fact of authorlessness is coming through this parampara only. It is coming through the parampara of, a teacher and the student. Every student is learning from some or the other teacher that, this particular mantra is not authored. Right? What we are saying is that, and that's a historical fact, is what we are trying to say. It is not started today, right? It did not happen today or, in the last 500 years or 800 years or even 1,000 years or 10,000 years. We do not know when it started, right? We are saying that it never started. Okay, this was always there. Now, how do I ascertain this historical fact is a bigger question for us. So ask yourself these other historical events that have happened. For example, British invasion is there, right? How do you know British had invaded India? You will say, there are enough documents for that, right? There are photographs, there are videos, there are, some people who may have even seen that, okay? But, some people who may have seen that, all of that is not a conclusive evidence, is what I may claim. If I want to disbelieve that, I will say that, that is not conclusive. Because all of that is made up. You show me one document, I will say that is made up, that is fabricated. It is not evidence. I will skip, let's say for the sake of argument, I will just keep dismissing things. I'm not unreasonable. I want to know the proof that such and so is actually a video that belonged to that particular era. Or this document was actually, it belongs to that particular era. How will you convince me of that? You will convince me by showing me multiple sources of the same fact. Okay, and you will also show that they are reasonably independent in each other. For example, you will show me a newspaper clipping which says that British was there and they left India on 15th August or whatever, right? You will also show me one video of saying that. And you will also show that they are independent of each other. That is how, in fact, today also, right? How do you know, for example, Modi is the Prime Minister now, right? How do you know today? He is not there in front of you. You are not sitting in the PM office. How do you know? It is only through TV and multiple other sources, all of which are presumably independent. You are claiming that you know for a fact that such a so and so person is sitting in that particular office, right? Otherwise, you do not have any direct experience of that. It is only through multiple independent sources that you are able to ascertain a fact that is not there in front of you, okay, and that is not even inferable. This is the power of Agama. The same thing, and this is what we are calling as prasiddhi, multiple independent sources. So such independent sources, multiple independent sources, which is prasiddhi, existed for even authoredness. For example, I know that Shakespeare wrote Merchant of Venice because there is prasiddhi about that. I know that Gandhi wrote my experiments with truth because there are, and it is not just that the book which has his face and then his name title over there, but because there are many other sources which are corroborating with each other and which are telling me that so and so happened, right? Such a book was written by so and so person. All historic facts are the historical narrative, in fact, is considered, is created, and even corrected at where need be based on this thing. So many times, if there are certain narratives that are created which get corrected later, right? All these things are happening on one single thing, which is prasiddhi, which is their multiple independent sources. So even for authoredness, I asked a question a while back. If I have not written that text, how do I know it is authored? It is known through prasiddhi. If you bring me Janagana Mana and tell me this, you wrote this thing, I will deny that. On what basis? On the basis of prasiddhi. Same prasiddhi exists for Veda being unauthored. It is not just my teacher and my guru who has been telling me that Veda is unauthored. Every other student and teacher combination has been doing the same thing. And that they have been doing the same thing is again true at all points of time in the history. And how do we know that? Again, same thing, prasiddhi. Any historical fact is primarily known through prasiddhi. Whatever multiple independent sources you bring, it will come to that thing. And remember, right, I told you there are some thousands of texts over there, right? Religious texts. Why will I believe only the Veda? Because, see, why can't I, for example, believe that, God gave that his word to Prophet Muhammad only, or, to Moses only? The moment I do that, there is trust on that person to tell me what exactly God told him, right? There is a lot of assumptions in that entire thing there that I trust, whatever I had mentioned a while back. Here it is not author, but the revealer, to whoever it was revealed. What if that person is ignorant? God is revealing, but I do not know how to grasp that. Then also there is problem. What if I am ignorant, I'm not ignorant, I am knowledgeable, I can understand God's word, I have to just put this thing verbatim. How do I know there are no mistakes there? Okay. In fact, if you read the Quranic history, right, there are people have admitted that there have been corrections there. Okay, because the Prophet Muhammad was not into writing. He used to come and then reveal, and then there was a scribe who used to write it and who used to correct some of the grammatical mistakes. At least that's what they claim. Okay. Now, we do not have that problem. There are multiple rishis that are there through whom this revelation has happened. And those rishis teach us verbatim whatever was revealed to them. And even then, there is no trust on that particular rishi. For example, when Vishwamitra was there, Gayatri Mantra was told to him. But there were many others who knew the Gayatri Mantra also at that time. Because that stream of knowledge has come again from times that go beyond. So he can start a stream of knowledge, but the other parallel streams of knowledge are there. So therefore, there is, there are multiple people involved. There is no single source that, there are multiple independent sources, and there is a parampara which goes back and back in time. Therefore, it is very clear to us that, Veda is unauthored. This is the only way in which we could have this kind of prasiddhi plus parampara are the two main reasons why we hold that Veda is unauthored. And since that Veda is, and by the way, I have to just give this one small clarification here. We are not saying we do not know the authors of Veda. We are saying that it is not authored. Okay. Just like we are saying water is colorless. It does not mean we do not know the color, right? Same thing here. Now, when should we use this Veda? To understand what, to get to know what, should we use this Veda? Anything that cannot be obtained through perception or inference, we have to use the Veda. For example, dharma, what should we do? What should we not do? Is there a heaven? Is there a hell? All these things are known to us through Veda. Even papa, punya. Okay. In fact, we do not know that there is one such thing as papa, punya. Just purely by logic, we will know that there is something, a correct action and an incorrect action. There is, that is true even in our regular life, right? If I write 2 + 2 = 4, I will get marks. If I say 2 + 2 = 5, I will get wrong marks. There is a correct action, there is a wrong action. That much is true. But beyond that, what should I do, for example, to improve my life and next life and so on and so forth? Even if, is there one such thing like next life? All those things are known to us only through Veda and the Shastra there. So you can read the examples here, but all of them are known to us only through the Veda. So for us, Veda is the primary evidence. Now let's come back to our problem of God, right? What is the evidence that God exists? So people who said that, I cannot see God, I cannot hear God, they are all basically saying that God is not perceptible, therefore he does not exist. Okay, it is laughable. It is like saying the jalebi in front of me does not have any taste because I cannot see it. Does that make any sense? It does not make sense. Why? Taste is something that your tongue will tell you. Eyes cannot tell you that. Similarly, perception cannot tell you whether God exists or not God exists. If you prove beforehand that God is perceptible and then you say there is no perception, then it is understandable. But there is no evidence of that also, no? Right? So therefore, that is a laughable objection. The atheist objection that God is not perceptible, therefore he does not exist, is laughable because they have to first prove that he should have been perceptible. For example, if I say there is no pot here, right? I can prove pot's non-existence because pot is perceptible. We know beforehand that pot is perceptible. It is available to your vision. If it is not available to your vision, if it is potentially available to your vision, but it is not there now, then you say pot does not exist. But we do not know that God is perceptible or not perceptible. Without knowing that, if they claim because he is not perceptible, he is not visible, he does not exist, it means that it is a foolish objection that to put there. So the nature of evidence itself is different. When it comes to sensory things, perception is the evidence. But when it comes to things beyond our senses, like Swarga, Naraka, God, Dharma, Adharma, everything, right? Veda is the only evidence. And not just Veda, all these other things that I have written over there. There is again logical argumentation for that. Mahabharata and the Puranas are referred by the Veda, therefore they are Pramanas. Why do I believe Bhagavad Gita? Not because, it was written, everybody else is believing that. It is because the Apaurusheya Veda, which is the primary source of primary evidence, that says, Itihasa Puranam, Panchamo Vedanam Vedaha. It says it is like the fifth Veda. Therefore, Itihasa, which is Ramayana and Mahabharata, also become Pramana for me. And Mahabharata includes Bhagavad Gita, therefore Bhagavad Gita is Pramana for me. Okay, then I have written the other sources there, Brahma Sutras and Pancharatras and Satvika Puranas. These are called Sadagamas. We hold that this is the evidence on which I will hold God. I will understand God's nature. I will understand his or her preferences. Everything that we know about God will come through this. And even, go back to this question here, right? Is there a purpose in knowing God? That also I will know only from here. I cannot know that thing independent of this. Okay? So now we have established the basis or the foundation on which our questions have to be answered. I cannot see there are many questions that came from these opinions, right? Now the question is, I can just give what is the answer according to Madhvacharya, we could have given that way. But it is more important to know what is the foundation, what is the basis on which we are giving these answers, and how that basis is different from other religious texts or other personal opinions, right? Now, I will skip through this thing. You may say that there are people, for example, who accept the Veda also, but they come up with different interpretations. They do not believe in God or anything like that, right? We will talk about them later. For example, Aham Brahmasmi there. People are saying that, I do believe that there exists a God, but I am God. That is one very common thing that is there. Now, Advaita actually says it slightly differently. They have this thing called as Bhagatyaga Lakshana, which means that, whichever portions are, when you say X is equal to Y, right? Whichever portions of X and Y are not matching, okay? Whichever are Virodha is there, remove them and then establish that identity. So you are thinking Jiva is Alpagnya, is liable to Dukkha and all these things. And whereas Brahma is all Sarvagnya, Sarvashakti and all those things. How can both be same? He says, okay, remove these contradictory attributes, and then what you get is the Nirvisesha Chaitanya. There is equality or identity at that level, is what they will try to say. But this entire thing, for example, is Aham Brahmasmi itself is a wrong idea there. Okay, first of all, it is told by Parabrahman himself. He is saying, I am God. The second more important thing is he is not saying I am God there. Okay, that line which says, Atmanameva Vet, Aham Brahmasmi iti. Okay, which says that, the Brahman knew itself as I am Brahman. If you notice, it is grammatically incorrect. Right? Will people say I know myself to be Krishna, or will I say I know myself as I will say I know I am Krishna, or I know myself as Krishna. I will not say I know myself as I am Krishna. Right? That is grammatically wrong. So their interpretation is like that only. Okay. So there are such weak interpretations which mess up those things. So that's why Acharya says each of Aham, Brahma and Asmi as adjectives and not the regular words. So we can go that thing in that further later, but there is a certain framework by which we interpret these agamas also. Now let's come back to our questions, right? So how do we know God exists? This is the thing. God, Sadagamas say God exists and is the creator. Yatova imani bhutani jayante, yena jatani jivanti, yat prayanti, abhisambishanti, tad vijijñāsasva tad brahmeti. Okay, this is the main, one of the Shrutis which tells that God is the creator, God is the sustainer, God is the one who destroys the entire universe later, and into that God we go and enter later. Tad vijijñāsasva, attempt to know more about that. See, now the Shruti has given a purpose. Shruti says you should learn about God. Okay, therefore we should do it. Okay, there are some more. Why should we call, see, God is a simple, it's almost like a pronoun, right? What does it mean? We use the word Brahma, Atma, Vishnu, so on and so forth, right? So in fact, that is how the original, the presentation began. Brahma, Bhagavanta, Bhagavan, Paramatma, Parabrahma. These are the names that are commonly used. Why should we call Brahma? Upanishad itself tells. Brihanto hi yasmin gunaha. There are the, in whom all qualities are complete, all virtuous qualities are complete. Okay, though all virtues are complete, they are infinite. That is the reason he is called Brahma. Okay, this other one comes in Rig Veda. Nate Vishno Jayamano na Jatah Devam Mahimna Paramam Paramantam Apa. Okay, again you can read this thing there, which says that there is no God who is already born or to be born, who is who can acquire Vishnu's infinite glories or powers. Okay, and tamevam vidvan amrita hi bhavati nanya pantha ayanaya vidyate. Only by knowing God, one can become immortal. There is no other way. See, the Shruti is telling us. So one important point here is that this highlights the necessity of knowing Him. It is not an option, right? So one objection that came before was, maybe we don't need to know. Why should I know? I will be happy here, let him be happy there. No, you cannot be happy without knowing Him. That is the main point here. Why are we telling that? Because Shruti is telling that. Because Veda is telling that. Tamevam vidvan amrita hi bhavati. See, ours is not a, have you guys heard about God of gaps argument? I'll tell you what that thing is. Okay. So if there are some phenomena that we cannot explain in today's science or technology or today's general knowledge, right? There is a tendency to say, because God exists, such a thing has happened. Let's take whatever, miracle thing is there, right? Some miracle has happened. Because that miracle has happened, God exists. That is the regular thing which many religions do. I think if you may have seen this thing in Christianity, right? There is a certain process by which they establish a particular person to be a saint. And that saint has to show some miracles. What are miracles? Basically, miracles are phenomena for which there is no direct, known scientific explanation. So they say that because these miracles are performed, God exists. So that is what is called as God of gaps. Okay, there is a gap between our understanding and the event that has happened. So to bridge that, you will say that God has done this thing. Okay, but this is a very fallacious argument. In future, you may be able to explain this thing better. Just imagine now, right? Let's say in 16th century, somebody saw a person who is using a cell phone. What will they say? They will say that this guy is a God, right? This is all gods of gap argument. We are not saying that. We are saying God exists not because there is a gap that has to be filled, not because there is an explanation that we cannot give. God exists because the evidence, which is Veda, which is the Apaurushaya Veda, is saying so. Okay, such a Veda is telling that by knowing God only, okay, you will become immortal. There is no other way. Nanya pantha ayanaya vidyate. In fact, tamevam vidvan amrita hi bhavati means by only knowing Him in this manner. Which manner? It is there in the Purusha Sukta. Know him to be of infinite forms, infinite heads, infinite eyes, right? Sahasra Sirsha Purushaha, Sahasraksha Sahasrabat. He has pervaded everything and exceeded beyond this. Only by knowing God in such a manner, you will become immortal. Okay? And Again, God's biggest preference, right? How do we know his preference? Whether he wants you to do ritual or not do the ritual. How do you know whether you should learn about him or not learn about him? Again, the scripture tells us, Priyo hi jnanino athyartam aham satamama priyaha. Of all the different types of devotees that come to me, Jnani is the highest. Okay? Is the dearest to me. There are 4 types of devotees that seek God. Okay? One who is in trouble, one who wants to learn something, one who is seeking something, and then there is Jnani. A Jnani is a person who is knowledgeable about God. He seeks God because he loves God. He has nothing to get from him. Okay? So Jnani, Paramatma says, such a Jnani is dearest to me. All these things show couple of things. One, what is the nature of God? That he exists, of course. And here Vishnu is the God who has those things, who is infinite like that. And there is purpose in knowing about God. There is benefit. What is that benefit? Moksha is the main benefit. Okay? And having said that, let's look at what do you mean by God, right? If you ask other people, right, they will say God is, who created this thing and then, who is sitting in heaven somewhere and things like that, right? That is the general notion that people have. What we are saying here is, yes, sarvaguna sampurnaha, sarvadosha vivarjita. These are the 2 main qualities of God. Guna paripurna, sarvadosha vivarjita. Guna paripurna means, guna means excellent virtuous qualities, virtues, okay? Like ananda, jnana, knowledge. His form is made of knowledge and all these other qualities. His form is made of ananda. Okay, his form is made up of what do you call tejas, radiance. Okay, light, so on and so forth. So there are infinite such qualities which exist in him. Okay, which is him, and there is not even a single trace of fault or a flaw. Now this is an important thing. Because this is what is going to answer many of our other questions there previously. Ajnana, dukkha, durbala, alpabala, all these things are flaws, right? He also does not have vaishamya or nairgunya. Okay, very important thing. What is vaishamya? Vaishamya means partiality. Okay, and nairgunya means what? Nairgunya means merciless. He is not having mercilessness. He is fully merciful. Okay. So Karuna Samudra is also there, but at the same time, he is not partial. He is totally, absolutely impartial. He is absolutely just. Okay. These 2 things are important in answering many questions that came before here. Okay. See here, right? Why do his devotees suffer? His devotees suffer because they have that kind of karma. Okay. It is his justness because he has given that karma, he has to have done that karma and he is delivering that karma phala. There is no such thing as innocent people in our system. Okay, you are looking at one lifetime and claiming that, see, that child is just born, but it got sucked into the earthquake, right? After it suffered because of the earthquake. You are looking at one small lifetime to determine whether that person is innocent or not innocent. You do not know the infinite time frame before that. Only God knows that. Okay, that entire karma he sees that and then gives that karma phala. Okay, so while he is Karuna Samudra, okay, he is also just. People who have made these questions do not give that character to him. Okay, he is just. He says that, what, I am the overlord, and I have laid this system by which you determine whether this is good act or this is bad act. Veda is the document which tells you whether it is a good act or not a good act. And if you do not follow that, you will have to bear the consequences. It is my rule. Therefore, karma, whatever we are saying, right, is also given by him. Karma phala is also given by him. And it is an act of mercy to make us go through this suffering, because he will eventually, it is like the suffering that you give to a golden ring to remove the impurities there. And these impurities have not been added by him again. This is how we have been there from infinite, beginningless time. There have been impurities in us for so on and so forth. He is giving the opportunity to remove them. Okay, one by one. So every suffering that is given to you is made to get you evolve. without losing your devotion or without reducing your devotion on him. That is the platform that he has given. Why can't he directly take you and then put you in moksha? If he is that merciful, the answer is you do not deserve that. He is just. A just person gives only that much that you deserve. So if you deserve 20 marks, you will get 20 marks. If you deserve 100 marks, you will get 100 marks. Just because I am merciful doesn't mean I will reverse those things or make both of them equal. Communism is not right here, right? That is why God will give all these things, right? He is infinitely just, but at the same time, he is infinitely merciful. Why are you still staying merciful if he is just giving the same results that I anyway deserve? Because he is giving you an opportunity to move on. Okay, for that is the reason why he should be admitted as very, very merciful. And not only that, he is making you go through all these things. He is also giving you the strength to go through these things. And then eventually he will take you and then give you moksha, which is basically happiness for infinite time. Okay. And he is making you do all those things, by the way. So he has no benefit to accrue from there. He is doing all those things simply because he is merciful. Okay. Now, there are other things. There are infinite qualities. There are infinite forms. Each quality is infinite. This is all told in the Sadagama itself. Mai ananta gune gunato ananta vigrahe. Okay. See, for us, the form is different from the guna that is there inside. For him, the form itself is guna. All the gunas comprise his form there. Okay. It is beyond our comprehension. He is called Achintya Adbhuta Shakti is there for him for this reason only. He is Achintya. We cannot understand him completely, but it is not that he is totally incomprehensible, right? We know a little bit of him, okay? And as you go higher in the hierarchy, more and more knowledge is there. So Lakshmi knows him the maximum, but even her knowledge is tiny compared to what he is. He is the largest of the infinities, okay? There are many infinities that are admitted in our system, right? For example, Prakriti is there, space is infinite, time is also infinite. But there are more jivas. The infinitude of jivas is more than the space and that of time. The infinitude of then Veda is also infinite. Okay. And Brahma and these jivas, Ruju jivas, their knowledge is also infinite. But their infinitude is smaller than Vishnu's infinitude. You may question, how can you speak of gradation between infinities? Right? In today's mathematics, it is accepted. Okay. If you take the set of natural numbers and set of real numbers, right? Both are infinite. But the infinitude of real numbers is much larger than that of the set of infinitude of natural numbers. This is accepted. Something similar like that exists is accepted in our Siddhanta also. Okay. So Vishnu is the highest infinitude you can always think of. He is really Ananta. Okay. So he making a stone which he cannot lift is a logical impossibility. Okay. So because it is like saying, can he make a round square? That question itself does not make sense. Similarly, saying, can he create a rock that he cannot lift is a logical impossibility, which means that there is some lacuna in him, right? That lacuna means that there has to be something more infinite, but that such a more infinite thing does not exist. Moreover, he is also not a person who wishes to become lesser. Okay, very important. He does not have any apurnata. He does not have any lacuna there. And he does not even want to get that lacuna. He does not wish to get that lacuna. This is a thing that many of our even religious friends don't understand. See here, right? For example, we talked about Rama. See here. God may be powerful, but his avatars are not. Rama cried when he did not find Sita. The assumption is that, when Rama took the avatara, right? he basically got some material attributes, or it reduced his omnipotence or omniscience. But why will any intelligent God do that? They will not do that. So yes, by pure logic, you can make out that, this crying and all those things is a drama. But still, of course, there is Agama that tells you that Rama is a Vishnu's avatara and is also Purna and so on and so forth. So all these things is a drama you can make out through Agama also and through logic also, which depends on that Agama. So therefore, the questions like, can he create that, this thing are all wrong there. Okay, can he create a rock that he cannot lift? Is logically not correct question. Is a logical, just like, can you make round square? It's like that. The question, the prashna itself is ayogya. Then there is no difference within himself. I think come to these things later. Let me go to the these things. A very important point here, right? He's also the antaryami for all of us, even for space, even for time, even for all the matter that we see there, right? So, and Vishnu, we say Vishnu is Sarvottam. Now the question is this, right? We saw some statement which says that all gods are same. Or ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. Okay, what about that? Okay, and why are you saying all of these things? It is a sectarian thing to say. Okay, you belong to Vaishnavas sect, that's why you are saying that. Shaiva will say the different thing. If you want to look at the Veda is also saying all those things there. Veda admits Vishnu as Sarvatama, and Veda also says Vishnu is Rudra is also Sarvatama. Eko vai Rudraha Ditiyayana Tasthe. It says those things also. Vishwasmad Indra Uttaraha. Right? All these things Veda is also saying. How do you then say that only Vishnu is the Sarvottama? Okay. So we will come to that question. That is the only thing that is left. Now see, we are saying that, okay, you are saying basically Vishnu is Paramatma. Okay. So are you saying that it is only Vishnu is Paramatma's name? We are saying that no, all names are Vishnu's names. Okay. See, for us, name means what? It is just a, an indicative mark, right? If somebody has to call me, they will call me, hey Krishna, come over here. It is just to get my attention that somebody will use a name. It is just a symbol. It is a representation thing, right? It does not mean anything more. It does not signify anything more than that. But when we talk about the Veda basically is using that word because that object, that word, for example, Vishnu means all pervasive. That quality of all pervasiveness exists in that particular being. That is why that name is used against that person in the Veda. Okay, otherwise it will become a meaningless text. Okay, so the Veda is basically saying Vishnu is the name by which it is generally known, popularly known, and such a person is Paramatma. But it does not say that he does not have other names. He has other names like Shiva, Brahma, Indra, all these things. Why? Because those names denote certain qualities. And those qualities exist in Vishnu. Those qualities exist in those deities also. But it is primarily in Vishnu. Okay? One Shruti is very clearly tells this thing. Namani sarvani yama vishanti tam vai Vishnum paramam udaharanti. Okay? So all these names, they talk about Vishnu. Not only that, paramam udaharanti. They tell him primarily. Why? Because he has those qualities to the infinite extent. For example, Shiva is there. He is called Shiva because he is Mangalakara. He is auspicious. Okay? Shiva is called Rudra. Why? Because he drives away your diseases. Rujam dravayate yasmat. Therefore, he is called Rudra. Now the question is, the same qualities exist in Vishnu to an infinite extent. Therefore, he is the primary referent of those words. He has those names also, but he is the main thing. For example, if there is one person who has lakhs of rupees, who has another person who has crores and trillions of rupees. Now, when you say, hey, rich man, come over here, who is the primary referent of that word rich man? The person who has maximum money there. Same thing applies to it. Does it mean that this one is not a rich man? The other one, the Lakpati is also a rich man. But the person who has all that infinite wealth is the true rich man. Same thing. When I call Shiva, the primary referent is Vishnu. When I say Indra, the primary referent is Vishnu. When I say Brahma, any other names, the primary referent is Vishnu. Why? Because he has those qualities there. Now, does that mean the other person does not exist? Shiva does not exist. All of the gods are basically one god, which is Vishnu. No, we are saying that, see here, there are multiple beings. How do I know that? Because it is telling, it also told, right? Nate Vishnu jayamano na jataha deva mahimna param antamapa. Okay, no deva yet to be born or is born will achieve your supreme glory. If there were not multiple deities, if there were only one deity who is called both Shiva and Vishnu, this line does not make sense. It assumes, this line tells you that Vishnu is there and then devatas who are born. It is telling that there is a difference between them. There are many such statements. Okay. For example, Naminanti Rudraha, it tells that, the Savita, the actions of Savita, the creator, is not understood by Indra, Rudra, and so on and so forth. Okay. So these statements tell you that there is there is flaw in those deities. There is a limitation in those deities. And then there is Vishnu, which means that there is a difference. But Vishnu is also known by those names. Yo Devanam Namadha Eka Eva. Only one deity holds the names of all these deities. It doesn't mean other deities are not there. It does not mean they do not have those qualities. Those other deities have those qualities, but Vishnu has them in infinite extent. Those deities also have some flaws. They do not understand Vishnu completely. Okay? Even that thing, Indram Mitram Varunam Agnimahuhu, Ato Divyassa Suparmo Garutman, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti, Agnim Yamam Matarishwanam Ahuhu. Look at this verse carefully. It says Ahuhu, Ahuhu, Ahuhu. It keeps saying that. Okay? They call him as Agni. Why? Because he has that quality. They call him as Varuna. Why? Because he is Varaniya. He is to be respected. They call him Mitram. Because why? Because he is friendly. They call him Indram. Why? Because he is Paramashwaryavan. He is called Divya because he has that particular quality, which is playfulness, etc., etc. He is called Suparna. He is called Garutman because all these words indicate qualities. If they say that, no, this word, it does not mean that there is only one deity. It means that one deity has all names. That is the meaning of these words. It does not mean there is only one deity. If that were the case, look at this Agni over here. Agni is repeated twice in the same verse. Without knowing this, many of our Hindu friends, basically, they keep using this word to say, we believe in one, we are a monotheistic thing. We are, though we may be, we are not monotheistic like, the other people. We are monotheistic, but we are also tolerant. Okay, this is one more thing which our Hindu advocate, he keeps making this thing. We say that, any monotheistic religion is basically not tolerant. That is not the case. We are also monotheistic, but we are tolerant because we admit that these people will go through many lives of births and death to be able to understand the final truth which is told in the Veda. Okay, that what makes us tolerant. So, yeah, coming back, it answers the other question, which is that, Shiva is not the real God or anything like that. Vishnu is the prime God. There are these other gods whose qualities exist in Vishnu. Okay. And now let's go back to some of those other things. But before that, I want to tell this thing there. One small thing here. He does not have any flaw. He does not wish to get any flaw either. Okay. Remembering this, let's see some of the answers now, right? One, he creates for the sake of jivas. What was the purpose of creation? Okay. His purpose is to not fulfill some lacuna in himself. Okay. The question that was raised was that if he creates because there was some as a sport or whatever it is, right? It means that he did not have that joy earlier. And after creating, he got that joy. This means that there is a flaw in him. No, the answer is he creates. He does not have any self-purpose to fulfill. He is creating for the sake of jivas, to give them an opportunity to get moksha. Why doesn't he give any moksha directly? Because they do not deserve that thing. He is just also at the same time. He does not have any Vaishamya and Nairganya at the same time. He is just and merciful, both at the same time. It is a very difficult combination to keep. Okay, I mean, as a parent, you will know this one. You want to be just to your children, but also merciful and then help them progress. That's what God does with us. Okay, and so I think this I have covered. He has, okay, God is Nirakara. That is the other opinion that we saw there. That also is not true. I'll come to the questions little later. I don't know how much time is left now. Oh, we are almost, okay, I think we should stop here and go to the this one. What do you call the I will quickly wrap it up after which we can go to the questions, right? So we should do karma according to the whatever is told in the Sadhagama, because that is what is needed. Karma is not the main means. Karma is the thing that will help us get to the what do you call knowledge, and it will enable us to get to a position where we can acquire knowledge, devotion, and so on and so forth. Okay, and this is what we should do. Acharya says, Swavihita Vritya Bhaktya Bhagavad Aradhanameva Paramo Dharma. Whatever is told to you by the scripture, do that as do that with in a spirit of devotion and as service of Paramatma. That will help you get to a position where you can acquire knowledge. Only these three things finally: knowledge, devotion, and dispassion. Jnana, Bhakti, Vairagya. These are the three things that we have to evolve, that has to keep improving. So from one birth to another birth, if these things are moving up, then it means that you are evolving. Your sadhana is happening. Okay. But these things generally go like this. They have a checkered career because we keep doing bad karma. Okay. And why is God letting us do bad karma? Because it is there in our Swarupa itself. He does not change the Swarupa of those people. He will let them do the bad karma and then improve on that later also. Why he does? What is his purpose in doing that? He has no purpose. He is merciful. But he is giving the opportunity for the jiva to evolve. And since the Shastra is telling you should do acharana, we should do that acharana. In fact, Acharya says in one point, very important point, in Karmanyevadhikaraste, he tells this thing. Na anya phala bhavepi. Okay? Mat prasadakya phala bhavat. You should not care whether Ekadashi is giving you any benefit or not. You know, people say you should apply Gopi Chandana because it will clean up your nadis. You should apply Gopi Chandana even if you don't get any nadi shuddhi and things like that, because Shastra is telling that. Acharya says, even if there are no other benefits, one primary benefit, which is God's immense grace, will come on you. And there is nothing more important than that. Therefore, you should follow whatever is told in the Veda. That is what he says. And with that, I will stop here. I think we should go through some of the questions before we go to the this one. I hope I have covered most of these questions. Wherever I have not been able to cover, I am sure there are you will be able to find people who will get you the answers from the Sadhagama that we just saw. With that, I will stop my lecture. Madhvesha Krishnarpanamastu. Let's go to the questions.
That statement by Vadiraja, is it right or wrong?
It is quite right, because he is saying that on the basis of Shruti. He says that, the Veda is telling you that there is Bheda between Jiva and Ishvara. Okay. And this one comes, Jo Dushtam Anyam Isham, the Shvetashvatara Upanishad very clearly tells that. And if after all that, if you don't believe in whatever conclusions we are coming, right? After providing all the evidence, if you still don't believe, then look at this thing purely from a Laukika point of view. Purely from a Laukika point of view, he tries to entice you in saying that, belief in Dvaita is correct, more correct than belief in Advaita. He is not talking about Nastika and Astika at all, though. Therefore, this is more like an enticing argument rather than the primary argument for Vadirajaru. For other hand, for Pascal's Wager were not like that. It was the main argument for them to hold that God exists. So they are two different things, and it doesn't apply there. There is enough, whatever we saw there, right? For example, whatever Bertrand Russell claim, I will blame God for not providing enough evidence, does not apply in Vadiraja's case. He will say that, look, there is ample evidence for not just God's existence, but also for there being difference, fundamental, intrinsic, inherent difference between God and Jiva. So
that Allah, Krishna, Jesus, same.
All right. Sorry about that. I missed out that point. So see here, basically what we have proven is that in this Shruti, right? Yo devanam namadha eka eva. There are some more things like that. Namani sarvani yama vishanti tamvaim vishnum paramam udaharanti. All names are that of God. All names that talk about any quality, they refer to God. This is the point that is told in that Bhalaveya Shruti, which is told by Acharya. But in Aitareya Aranyaka, there is one very important point that comes there. Okay, that point is that the point made is that sarve vyahritaya sarve vrichaha sarve pranayeva vyaharanti. Okay, it basically says that all the riks, all shabda, every sound. Okay, Samudra Acharya gives a quote there which says that even Bheri Tadana, whatever drum beating people do, when a tree falls, it will make a sound, right? And when the lizard makes its sound, that is a particular sound there. All of them are basically talking about God. We do not have the capability to understand that. So even Laukika sounds, whatever, even if somebody is honking his vehicle on the road, it is depicting God. So Jesus and Allah, obviously it refers to God only. I do not know the meaning of that. I will not be able to connect the meaning of that sound to God. That only higher beings can do that. Okay, Devatas can do that thing. I cannot do that. In fact, Acharya's Bhashya in one place, right? He says that even words like Dukhi, Murkha, all these things, Shunya, they all refer to God only. Okay, there it is a much larger topic. How can all words refer to God? Okay, but it is based on evidence. We have to admit that because it is based on Shastra, because Shastra says so. Samudra Ghosha, Bheri, there is the other, whatever I was saying, when a tree falls, whatever thud sound it makes, Samudra Ghosha, whatever Ghosha that you hear near Samudra, all of them refer to some gods, this thing, right? For example, whatever Ghanta that you put there, right? It basically has a particular swara. For us, even a swara is indicative of his, what you call, some quality. When a Ghanta is this thing, right? When Ghanta Vadana is done, basically it tells that, it has an Anudatta swara. It basically tells us, we are lower than you. That is the notion, that mindset that one should have when doing Ghanta Vadana. And that is the meaning that is indicated by that particular sound. So it is not just words that have meaning, even sounds have meaning in our system. Okay. And therefore, yes, all Laukika words, Acharya's Aitareya Upanishad has one, Bhashya has one nice, verse. Sarvaishta Vaidika Padairapi Loka Shabdaihi Meghadni Varithi Taladi Ravaishta Sarvaihi Eko Vidheyaha Paripurna Gunapriyolam. It says that, Sarvaishta Vaidika Shabdaihi. Okay? All Vaidika Shabdas, Indra, Mitra, all. Even Acharya says that, Vasante Jyotisha Yajeta. Even a statement which says, which on the surface of it appears to tell one action. Each word there is basically telling God's name. Vasante is also God. Vasante, another God, same God, another utterance. Jyotisha, again God. Ayajeta, God. Okay. Kum Fat, whatever we do in Mantrocharana, right? That also he says is referring to God. Spashtatvat Fat iti uchyate. That's what he says that. Okay. So every word every sound refers to God. I don't know whether but how does it refer? What is the meaning it conveys? So you will need to talk to Madhvacharya about that. You will get some more knowledge on that. I hope that answered your question, sir.
Yes.
Even the word Satan also will refers to God for us. Okay, because that indicates a quality, and if it indicates a good quality, it is in him, God, in the God himself. If it indicates a bad quality, like dukkha or whatever it is, God is still referred to it because he controls that in whoever has that quality. Swatantram cha tadgatatvam shabdavrittirhi karanam. So that is, it will get little more complex than this topic. So what is the meaning of a word and its reference, right? In what cases? So that is a larger topic. You will need to talk about Brahma Sutras for that. We'll need to do that some other time for just that question, if you want to get into more depth there. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, there are 4 more here. Sorry. In which pramana the qualities of God are defined? In the Shruti only. Somebody has sent this question to me. Basically, it is, yes, sarvajnaha, sarvavit, right? I mean, if you read Sarvamula, Acharya Sarvamula, you will find many such pramanas where all the qualities of God are defined.
Yeah.
Right?
I have a question, Nana. Very nice session. It was very nice. And
in which pramana? Sorry, please continue.
What's the question? The link is gone. But if you can answer some of the question.
Yeah, okay. I will do one thing. Is the text of Hayagriva Ramayana available? No, the answer Mula Ramayana is not available to us. Only Vadirajanu makes some references to it in his commentary on Mahabharata Atmananya. One instance that I remember is, when Rama is called Vibhishana there. Okay. Hey, Vibhishana he is called. Acharya mentions that in the 8th chapter of Mahabharata Atmananya. So there Vadirajanu says that, this Vibhishana is not Ravana's brother, but Rama himself is called Vibhishana, which means that fierce one, right? That is the meaning of that word. Rama is called Vibhishana, and such a description has come in Mula Ramayana. That's why Acharya is mentioning it, that he says that there. There is one another instance where Vadirajanu refers to Mula Ramayana, but the text is not available to us today. The other question is there anything called Sattvika Purana, Rajasa, and Tamasa Purana? What is the real meaning? Of course, there is, and that classification is provided in the Puranas, across the Puranas. Okay, it is not just in Padma Purana. Padma Purana thing is more famous, but it is there in Matsya Purana also. It is there in Brahmanda Purana also. It is there in Brahma Purana, I think also. Basic thing is that anything that exalts Vishnu as the supreme is Sattvika Purana. So there may be Sattvika Bhaga in Tamasa Puranas also. So Skanda Purana has a Vaishnava Kanda. That is acceptable. Okay. And if anything does not hold, and this definition is not mine, by the way. This definition is there in Garuda Purana. It says that Vaishnava is Sattvika. That is the basic thing. So you may have these portions in Tamasa Purana also, but they are acceptable because that is aligned to Veda. The purport of Veda is very clear. Veda is Vaishnava in nature. Okay, it basically exalts Vishnu as the supreme. Now, you just saw some evidence there, right? It is there here, right? Now, such a thing is not there for, I mean, there may be other statements which exalts Rudra also as supreme. There may be some things that exalts, Indra also as supreme. But there are statements that also posit flaws in them. There are statements which say that, Rudra does not know this. Rudra became Rudra because of worshipping Vishnu. Asyahi devasya Vishnu, Milushor devasya Vishnor Eshahi Prabhrute Havirbhihi. Okay, there are statements like that. Because of that, you know that Veda is finally, it says Vishnu is the supreme being. And whichever Purana, whichever text is aligned to that becomes Sattvika. So the Sattvika portion may exist in Rajasa Purana or Tamasa Purana. Okay. And Rajasa Purana and Tamasa Purana are something that do not highlight Vishnu as the Sarvottama. And they highlight, Brahma or, Shiva or Skanda or Ganapati as the supreme beings. Those are all Tamasa Puranas. One opinion that is given by Trivikrama Panditacharya, which is what I totally like, is that he is, this Tamasa or Rajasa Purana and all these things are purely from the perspective of, from a superficial level. What Vedavyasa is actually doing is he is telling you the Purva Paksha Bhaga of these different doctrines, these different darsanas. He is just narrating another person's view in the Tamas Purana. And he is telling his own view in Sattvika Purana or in the Sattvika Bhaga. And therefore, because that is what is aligned with the Veda. Okay. So even in Padma Purana, Uttarakhanda is acceptable. Whereas one thing that, there are previous khandas where there may be some things that may not look correct. So we can either reinterpret those or discard those things based on our capabilities. Okay. On why we should accept Vedas. Oh my God, there are so many questions here. One, why we should accept the Vedas, there are few questions. how do we ascertain the lineage existed? So the same thing, right? How do we ascertain any historical fact? That historical fact is known through us through parampara only and through prasiddhi only. So we basically go through that lineage. There are some texts like Charana Vyuha. There are some texts like Katyayana Samhita, Katyayana written Sarvanu Pramanika. There are some of these things which tell us. Can you just give me 1 minute, please? Yeah. So there are some such texts which give us these things. But again, you will find Puranas which mention this. You will find, but the problem for us is that many of these Puranas are kind of mutilated in today's world. So we have to depend on Acharya's words or previous people who existed around that time to be able to get to some level of confidence on whatever text is written over there. How do we ascertain that there is no disruption or dilution or modification in the text seen by the rishis themselves in the past? This is a very important question. Even if the rishis have seen Apaurishaya text, how do you know there is no modification in the processing thing, right? So again, this thing is that basically the answer is that there have been certain preservation mechanisms that have been adopted. A text is finally preserved if it is told on every day-to-day basis, right? So daily chanting, daily recitation, and teaching it to many others is the way to preserve a text. That is one of the preservation methods. Another method is to do vyakhyana on that. Okay, one is parayana. Every day you keep reciting and you teach others also that. And there are of course methods like ghana and krama and all these methods which ensure that the sequence or the swara and all those things do not change. Of course, there are disruption modifications even there, but for a text as wide as Veda and as old as Veda, you will be surprised to know the level of differences that you find between these different shakhas that is out there, even today. Okay, and it will be less than 1% or something like that. So you will still be sure that for most of the things the text is just fine, right? So there are certain preservation mechanisms. So whichever has not had good preservation mechanism, they have been lost there. Okay, so there have been supposed to be some 24 shakhas of Rig Veda. Only a couple of them have survived. There are some 1,000 shakhas of Sama Veda. There are, I think, hardly 2 or 3 are there, if I'm not wrong. Then similarly, you will find the numbers correctly on the web if you search for them. Then there are Yajurveda is 2 primarily, and again there are subdivisions there. You will find only very few of them to be correctly out there. Okay, so you will have to do some more. There have been texts that have been lost, but texts that have been modified, that is, I think, hardly few. Again, you will have to do comparison and then you will get to that thing. The way you ascertain any historic artifact, the same way you ascertain lineage and whether it is there or not there, and then you will get there. Then what is the guarantee that someone has composed some portion of text and labeled it as Veda? And this is an important question that Acharya says, takes up in Vishnu Tattva Vinaya. He says that, let's say I have claimed, I have created one mantra, but I claim that it is unauthored. Okay, so how do you know that such a thing has not crept into the Veda is a question here. Now the answer to that is there are 2 levels of answers there. One is, see, by the way it is defined here, right? Prasiddhi and parampara. A Gudha Kartruka Vakya, basically a person, somebody's composition, but labeled as Veda does not work because it does not have a parampara. There is no parampara to that. Okay. On the other hand, whatever verses or whatever mantras these rishis saw, there is a parampara to that also, independent of this rishi. Therefore, it is almost like a closed system in the sense that you cannot add any new text into the Veda. I cannot, for example, claim that I had a revelation today. It says that all Vedas that you have seen so far is all false or whatever, right? I cannot make any such thing because the Veda, the boundary is very clearly drawn. The other part which Acharya says is that every rishi has certain lakshanas. Vimshan lakshanato anuna tapasvi bahuvedavit. Veda ityeva yam pashyet savedo jnana darshanat. So he should have 20 physical qualities. It starts with some like 8 feet of height or whatever it is. And then he should know a lot of Vedas and so on and so forth. There are many other qualities which are humanly impossible as of today. At least in this Kali Yuga, it is not possible to get them. Even if you get the NBA basketball team, they may meet the height requirement, but Bahuveda Vita, even all those things will not be true for them. So you can be reasonably sure that there have been no rishis in today's world. And there was some person who tried to create this Veda in 1969 or something like that. In some time, if you ask ChatGPT, it will also create one text for you. There are many Upanishads that have been created, right? The Muktika Upanishad is a fake one. There is Sharabha Upanishad is a fake one. There are many Upanishads that are created, and all of them, there is no parampara for them. There will be another session on that one later. But yeah. How does an unauthored text talk about dharma, adharma, or papa punya? I did not understand this question. I think your question is that, why can it not talk? I did not get that question there actually. Yeah. Why does the Lord abide by the Vedas? Oh, that is a different way to look at it. Basically, look at the Veda as Hari Agnya. Shruti Smritir Harer Agnya is the regular line that goes by. So all the Veda and Smritis and whatever they are telling us, it is Hari Agnya. Hari is basically sustaining the Veda like that, and it is his own word. In the sense that, he has not written it them himself, he has not composed them, but the Lord, by the way, has one more thing, important thing. He retains the nature of things as they are. If there is an evil soul, he will retain that evil soul as is. That is the reason why there is problem of evil. The evil exists in the world. He does not change the evil person because he does not want to destroy that evil person. Vishnu's nature is to sustain things as they are and make them evolve to their fullest potential. So an evil soul's fullest potential is to be fully evil. Okay, so Kali is the one who sits in us and do evil things. Okay, he is able to sit here because of two things. One, there is a scope in us itself for that. In our own nature, there is that lacuna is there. That's why he sits in that. He sits in us and makes us do wrong things. Not just Kali, but all these asuras that that get into our body and do wrong things. What was I saying? Yeah. So Veda Lord is not changing any of the things nature by themselves. So because of that, he is letting Veda remain like this, but he is also sustaining its pramanya. He is making it valid because that is again his nature. And that is Veda's nature to be valid forever because it is Apurusha, it is Pramana. And he makes everything retain as is. He does not make space as time and time as space. He lets them retain their own nature. So same thing applies here as well. Now with that, let me go to, still the definition of God is missing. Is it possible to define God to inform children? I think I mentioned one thing there. Sarvaguna Sampurna, Sarvadosha Vivarjita. That is the definition of God. That is the definition of Ishvara for us. One who has infinite virtues like Jnana, infinite Ananda, infinite this, Ojas, infinite Tejas, infinite Bala, infinite Shakti, okay, all infinite Saundarya, okay, infinite Lavanya, all these things are in infinite, and such qualities exist, and there is not even the faintest trace of flaw in him. Okay, he is not worried, he is not tense, he does not think, what kind of karma phala should I give. He is not brooding, he does not have any worries. That kind of God is there. That is the definition we can think of. Then yeah, that's all.
Anna,
some more.
I have one question, Anna.
Yeah.
When the soul came into existence, like the first time, the soul, why did the soul start making? Why did the jiva start making bad karma?
Okay.
So for destined to go to moksha, then he should be Satchidananda Rupa. The soul should be Satchidananda Rupa. And why did the soul start making bad karma?
Very nice question. Very nice question. So we say that, soul was never put into, there was never a time when the soul was not there. It is as beginningless as God himself is. Natvevaham natunasam natve neme janadhipaha nachaivanam bhavishyamaha sarve vayam atah param. This is what Krishna tells in his second shloka to Arjuna. There was never a time when you, me, and these kings were not there. There is never a time when you, me, these kings will not be there. Okay, therefore we are always there. Okay, nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam. That is the name. That is the adjectives given to God. He is the primary nitya. He is the eternal. But jivas are also nitya. Okay. In fact, the first few verses of Lord's teaching is that jiva is nitya. There it has been anadi. He does not create the soul. Unlike the Abrahamic religions where souls are created. Okay. In our Siddhanta, souls are not created. If you accept a Siddhanta, a doctrine where souls are created, it means God is flawed. God is creating those souls, putting them through drudgery, giving them sorrow, and then putting them into heaven. What kind of sadistic God is that? In our case, the souls have been there from infinite time, beginningless time. Okay, there was never a time when they were not there. And their original nature is like that, but there is a covering of avidya also on top of them. And God gives an opportunity for you to remove that and then move forward. I know this is going to be difficult to admit, to think of a time when a soul was not there. If you keep going back in infinite, this thing, soul, every one of us have always been there. That's what the Lord very clearly tells in Bhagavad Gita. The first few verses are mentioned to tell why the jiva is nitya only. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara tatha dehantara praptihi. Okay, just like the bodies change, even death is such a change of body only. But this jiva is always there. Antavanta ime deha nityasyokta sharirinaha. The sharirin, whoever is there in the body, has always been there. He is nitya. So the first few verses are to tell Arjuna, look, are you worried about the body or are you worried about the Atman? If you are worried about the body, there is no point because that body will someday or the other, it will perish. The Atma is imperishable. It has always been there. So the soul has always been there. So each one of us have always been there.
And like what I've heard is when the Srishti happens, then Lord, he just removes a fistful of souls and he gives them existence. Like that's when the journey starts up to moksha.
No, so what they are basically saying is that is the first time when so there are two theories about Srishti in our Siddhanta only. One is called Mushti Srishti, another one is called Sarva Srishti. But for your this thing, let me be this thing, right? So souls are coming, they keep getting these bodies. So every Brahma Kalpa, right? They get bodies and they lose their bodies except Linga Sharira and then move on. So this is the model that is out there. So the fistful of four souls that you are talking about, they are the only ones who get a Sthula Sharira. Okay? Every one of these infinite, non-liberated souls get Aniruddha Sharira. They all get their bodies. Okay? But some of them, they get Sthula Sharira, like whatever we have right now. Okay? And of course, between births, these Sthula Sharira also keeps changing. But that is where the fistful thing is there. It does not mean soul did not exist prior to that. The soul always existed. The soul always got its share of Sukshma Sharira and did its karma and then again lost its Sukshma Sharira. So when you have this multitude, infinitude of these Sukshma Shariras that you have come and then gotten, there is infinite karma that has come with you. Anadi, karma is also anadi, whatever karma we have done. Based on that, he will give us some Sharira now, after it reaches a particular threshold.
And that avidya is always with the soul? Is that so? Is that what
it is like an outer covering on the soul. So by God's grace, when we keep doing sadhana, this avidya goes off. And God will say, okay, now whatever is there within that particular jiva, let that thing come out, let it manifest. Okay, so and that's what happens in moksha. Anyatha rupam hitva swarupena vyavasthitihi muktihi. That is the nature of moksha. Basically, you discard whatever is not, and you be as you are. That is moksha. A very nice definition if you think of this, especially in today's psychological this thing, right? Being yourself is moksha, finally. But what is that yourself is a bigger question to answer.
Shall we close this session?
Yes, sir. Sorry about the time that we have.
Sashi?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, good evening, everyone. It was a really informative lecture in true sense. I'm pretty sure the precious knowledge you gave us will definitely to know more about God. In this session, you explained very well about the God, that author, unauthor text. The Veda is the unauthor text. Veda is the Prasiddhi and Parampara with the examples you have given. Then Veda is the primary evidence of God. Explained about Sadagamas and Duragamas, Veda Viruddha. Then also you have told God evidence is Mahabharata, Ramayana, Brahma Sutra, Pancharatras is also evidence of God. Why should we trust Brahma Sutra? How do you know trustworthy? So why God is called Brahma? Only by knowing God, one become immortal. Moksha, you will get the moksha. There is no other way. A jnani is dearest to God. So gods have two main qualities: guna paripurna, then sarva dosha vivarjita. So like that, many things you have covered today. Vishnu is really Ananta. Why Vishnu is Paramatma? Like that, you also answered many questions, very critical questions you have answered. So it has been such an honor to be part of this wonderful event. On behalf of the Taulava Madhwa Okkoota, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude and propose hearty vote of thanks to our today's lecture, Mr. 𝐸𝐴 K Krishna, for gracing today's seminar. Thank you, sir, for your very interesting and thought-provoking address. Also, sincere thanks to Mr. Venkatesh Bhatt, Managing Trustee of Taulava Madhwa Okkoota, for organizing this event. Finally, I would like to thanks to all of you present here for making the time to be with us today and helping us make this event a grand success. Thank you one and all. And also, we will continue this session. Krishna sir, you should give like this more time to us in the coming days. So it was very interesting, and we would like to know more about from you. So thank you everybody.
And I have
this
one last point to make. Basically, the more we study Madhvacharya's granthas, that much better it is going to be. You don't need people like me to help you there. I think everybody should take some time to actually study Madhva's granthas. It is, I think, one of our primary responsibilities as people who are born under in his parampara. Yeah.
Okay. And also one information, our this video recording will be available in our Taulava Madhwa Okkoota YouTube page. People can refer that. Somebody asked the question, so it will be there. So it will be recorded there. Thank you everybody once again, and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.